Okay.
Wow. Damn.
How can I restate this in a way that makes it sound like I was smart and knew it all along?
Welcome to Noise Floor, a podcast about music and our favorite artists' discographies. I'm Matt Kistler.
And I'm Troy Sennett.
And today we are taking a brief detour into one of our one-off palate cleanser episodes where we talk about a band who only released one full-length. Any number of EPs is kind of a free-for-all at this point, which this band has a lot of music. Today we are talking about Operation Ivy, and specifically their full-length Energy, as well as a collection of EPs and some bootlegs and some live albums that occurred around it in a relatively short run. I think this might be the shortest existence of a band that we've covered so far, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I mean, it's like 2 years at most.
Yeah, legitimately. Like they formed in May 1987 in Berkeley, California. They released, I'll skip a little bit here, but they released this in May of 1989. Played their last show, I believe, in August of 1989.
No, it was May. The last show was the album release show.
It was the album. Oh my God. Okay, well,
I mean, I guess they play
somehow.
They play the album release show, and then they play like the next day up somebody's backyard as like a sort of postscript for friends and family performance.
Yeah, right.
But they knew they were done by the time the album was coming out.
Right, yeah, because they were kind of in a situation where they had played, I think, over the course of their career, they played like almost 200 shows, again, in the span of 2 years, and were like playing progressively bigger rooms. Obviously, they have a home base kind of at 924 Gilman Street, kind of gained a cult following there pretty early on. But I guess just to like actually establish the timeline without skipping around too much, formed in May 1987, start playing a bunch of shows. Their first recorded music is on a comp from Maximum Rock and Roll called Turn It Around. They end up joining Lookout Records in early 1988 and released the Hectic 7-inch, which at the time was one of the best-selling Lookout Records releases. From there, they get real popular real quick.
I like the little tidbit that Larry Livermore talks about, that Lookout Records was formed just to release an Operation Ivy record.
Yeah.
And which, it makes the sort of end of the sort of glory days of Lookout even more of a bummer, when basically all of their big bands sue them to get their rights back to their records because they weren't getting paid royalties, Operation Ivy and Green Day included.
Yes.
But I mean, we're kind of burying the lead, I think, that Energy and the Operation Ivy discography, their live performances, their legacy is like they are the original ska punk band, and they are like, you can make an argument that they're the most influential, important, West Coast band of the 80s, probably, and early 90s, give or take a Green Day.
Yeah, and like
but you don't get Green Day without them.
No, absolutely not. And like obviously the ska punk angle of it all is like the like defining feature of Operation Ivy, but they like in many ways define the like Bay Area like punk / hardcore sound at the time.
I mean, they are to the Bay Area what Minor Threat is to DC. Like,
exactly.
I think that's probably an apt analogy.
I think that is very spot on. Yeah, I didn't mean to bury the lead on that. This band has been a part of my life for most of my life at this point. I much like any young person who associated themselves with punk, I started listening to this in like late middle school, early high school, and it's just kind of always been there. And like, obviously at the time, like I have the like, the legacy that follows of like, Tim and Matt go on to form Rancid after this, another like very important band from my youth. And like, that's kind of how I got introduced to this, is like, oh, this is Matt Freeman and, Tim Armstrong's old band. which, you know, in many ways feels kind of backwards, especially like given the way this band sounded and the way that like that kind of continued on into a lot of what Rancid did, especially with the ska and reggae influence, you know, on later albums that they would put out.
So was this a band that your high school bands would cover, or was this just something that you guys would listen to?
Both, yes. I have a really embarrassing anecdote about Knowledge that I'll just tell you right now.
Yes, I want to hear it.
We one of my old bands played a show in Kyle Wanuick, former guest, his basement, and our friends in a band called The Vamps all came to that show except for their drummer Frank, and they were like, hey, we would like to play a song. Like, could we do like a cover? Like, would you be able to play drums for it? And I was like, yeah, sure. And they were like, yeah, we'll play Knowledge. And I was like, totally. I know that song. I've listened to it a million times. And that's how I learned that listening to a song a million times does not teach you how to play the song. Cause I flubbed that real hard. I knew the basic beat, but we got to like that kind of bridge part right before the solo. Completely lost the plot. It was so bad. One of the worst performances I think I have ever done.
But also, you're like impromptu covering a song at a punk show. It was probably really fun anyway.
It was a good time anyway. But yeah, it was a wild time. But I have not attempted to play Knowledge since, which might be mostly due to embarrassment. I do absolutely still love that song though. But yeah, I don't think any of my bands ended up like regularly covering any of these songs though, because like I've never been in a ska band. I don't know that too many of the like ska bands in the scene really did Operation Ivy. Like this was, you know, at this point, this was like the heyday of your Catch-22s and Streetlight Manifestos. Realize they're basically the same band in a lot of ways, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I don't know so Troy, this is like your first time listening to this in full. Like what's your relationship to like kind of ska punk in general, and like, you know, what caused you not to encounter Operation Ivy all these years?
I think it's just there being so much music out there.
Fair.
And they were they were a band that was on my radar, but no, in my memory, my first real encounter with ska is downloading a Less Than Jake album on a whim right before a class trip to Washington, D.C. in 8th grade, and having my mind blown wide open. I'm sure I had heard, I don't know, I played Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. I had heard all these bands probably at some level before, but being 14 and hearing Less Than Jake for the first time, and then very quickly after that finding Real Big Fish. Right. And you know the what is that, third wave? I don't know the ska waves.
I couldn't begin to tell you.
but all of the bands that are in that, you know, late 90s, mid 2000s ska scene, I was drawn to. I liked Streetlight Manifesto. You know, I got to them a little bit later, but like I didn't go backwards in that genre very much outside of like I heard some Mighty Boss Tone stuff, and the more hardcore ska-core type stuff just wasn't really on my radar. This actually, did you see just a couple days ago, Rolling Stone released their 100 greatest punk albums of all time list?
I only saw people talking about how silly it is. I have not actually seen the list though.
Oh, okay. So Energy is number 55.
Okay.
But I'm reading this list and I'm like, man, for someone who like often describes myself as a fan of punk music, there are so many of these records that I've just never heard because I just didn't. I really stuck with what, you know, the pop punk stuff and what I was really into in like, you know, the early mid 2000s and onwards. I haven't gone backwards that much, to my great like embarrassment, honestly. So I mean, number one on this list is the Ramones, self-titled, which makes sense.
That, but, like, I'm not shocked.
2 is X-Ray Specs, a band that I don't think I have ever listened to.
Oh, is it Germ-Free Adolescence? I'm not on.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No, that album rules. You will love it when you listen to it.
Okay. Yeah. 3 is Double Nickels on the Dime by Minutemen, like a band that I'm familiar with mostly from Our Band Could Be Your Life, but haven't listened to a ton. This list is kind of crazy, like all these Rolling Stones lists are. But you know, the Clash. Like, you got the Clash self-titled. Lots of stuff on here that like I just need to dig into. But I just thought it was funny to see that this is Energy is definitely an album that is, the most mainstream of publications is regarding it as one of the top tier punk albums of all time. And then you look at like, they're a band that's always speculated as a big Riot Fest reunion if that happens. And, everyone cites them as an influence, from, punks on the street to Green Day covering Knowledge at like nearly every show for a long time.
Right.
They're just in the firmament of punk rock. But I should add that also, like, I remember hearing Rancid for the first time. Like, I saw them at a Riot Fest. I was with a friend who was like, oh, this is a good band. We should go and check them out. And I had never heard them, or I thought I had never heard them, and I'm hearing them play these songs. So it's like, oh, this was in Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. This song I've definitely heard this one before. And from there, I was like, oh, I guess I should at some point check out Operation Ivy. And then they were just on the back burner until we decided to do this. And the speculation for them reuniting for another Riot Fest has like ramped up again. We're either going to look really, really smart if the Riot Fest lineup gets announced like maybe the day that this episode comes out and they're on it, or we're just going to look like fools when they are not.
Yeah. I'm not holding my breath, but also it feels like the last inevitable thing that has to happen at that festival. Maybe not the last, but one of them.
I mean, it is. I think the Smiths are the final boss of Riot Fest.
You're probably right.
Operation Ivy is definitely up there. Like, after the Replacements and Jawbreaker and Bikini Kill, like those are kind of the last two that feel like are headliner level, and everyone well, I don't know if everyone wants the Smiths, but like the core demographic of that festival would be very excited about it.
It's true, and many people would feel incredibly conflicted and ultimately probably go see it.
Yeah. So we kind of jumped around the early stuff. We don't have to go there. There are so many songs on this record, so many songs in this discography. I don't know if we're gonna do our regular format of going through song by song, but we should hit some of these early releases in general. The first two songs they released came out on a Maximum Rock and Roll comp called Turn It Around. We're Officer and I Got No, which are just like, I mean, the core of the band is what they're about is there. It's pretty fast, loud, brash, but also very singable pop, punk with a sort of a pop edge, and these lyrics that are very critical of the state of the scene of machismo and masculinity, and the songs are like thoughtful and really fun.
These songs really they really have the DNA of the band very early on. Like Jesse's lyrics are very, very thoughtful. As punk lyrics written by young people goes. Like there's some like stuff that maybe looks a little cheesy in retrospect, but like by and large, like it is very, very much one of the time, and two, like kind of timeless in a lot of ways. Like Officer in particular is like very much like it could literally be like read as being about the police. It could be read about the scene police, basically.
There's sort of two kinds of timelessness going on here. It's both they're writing about something like Knowledge. They're writing about themes that are evergreen, growing up and finding your place in a community or whatever. And then there's also the stuff the political stuff is just like, things were fucked then and they're fucked now in the same ways, and it is just so frustrating that nothing has changed in 40 years. Right,
exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, those are kind of the first two things that come up. They record shortly after that in mid 87. They record the Hectic EP, which you mentioned, which I don't think this EP, I don't want to say if it's like a step back from those two songs, but it is, to me, like notably not as tight, not as, I don't think the songs are as good. I don't think the playing is as good as what happens on the album. I see how you get from one to the other, but I don't find this EP to be that interesting. outside of, I think, Matt Freeman's bass playing on the song Hoboken is phenomenal.
Matt, this is going to be a running theme of this episode, is just how insanely good Matt Freeman always has been at bass. Like that is a standout part of nearly every single Operation Ivy song. And like, yeah, my note on Hoboken is like, this is just insanely fast, and how does anybody keep up with this? But yeah, I get what you're saying. Like this is very much a prerequisite to what's to come in a lot of ways. Like I have a lot of fondness for a lot of these songs, but yeah, I think in many ways they're not quite on the level that most of what ends up on Energy is.
Yeah, and then there's a couple of other demos like this. 69 Newport, which is like a sanctioned bootleg with a couple of demos. There's an unlistenable Ramones covers record.
Oh God,
Did you try to listen to it?
I tried to, and it sounded like a band covering the Ramones in a tin can a little bit.
Yeah, it is one of the most unbelievably bad sounding released pieces of music that I've ever heard. I mean, released only in the sense that it is a bootleg, but like it's just kind of a funny piece of ephemera. You can go
listen to it. Yeah, it is. It's fun that it happened. I would love to have like seen them play those songs live, but like, yeah, that was probably a blast. Yeah.
It's just very funny that like it's one of those things where the top YouTube comment is like, if you set your EQ settings this way, then you can actually hear the songs.
I
did not try.
I also did not try, but that is very funny.
Yeah. But basically, I mean, they were recording a lot. They were playing a ton around this time. And I mean, this is not the first band for any of them, I don't think. Tim and Matt have known each other since they were 5 years old and have played in a couple bands before.
Yeah.
But so this, I mean, these, but there is a sense of like, we're figuring out how to do the thing that we want to do, even though, like you said, some of the early songs have the DNA of the band right there. But all this leads up to, they do a bunch of touring in 1988, and then they go back to Lookout, and they say they want to make a record, and Lookout says we want to do an EP because they don't know if they have the money to release it, to like record and release a full-length album.
Yeah.
Which is sort of the beginning of a kind of troubled production process with this record, that they try to record it live at 924 Gilman Street during like off hours, like when there's obviously not like a live album, but just, they want to do it live with no overdubs. The house engineer there wants to do lots of overdubs and wants them to like not use guitar distortion, and has all these like production ideas that the band hates, and they disagree over it, and it takes them months to try to record it, and they end up just scrapping it before going back in January of 89 to record it at Sound and Vision with Kevin Army. And they do basically track the whole record in one day, and then for basic tracks at least. It's just kind of funny that they kind of had to make the album twice to figure out how to make it.
It is very funny because like listening to those, I had never heard those Gilman sessions before, and they just don't sound good at all, which is unsurprising because it's unfinished.
Right, it's unfinished, but like you can tell that the performances aren't as good. They're shakier. They are. If that record, even if that version of it had been finished, it would not be Energy. It would be, I assume, a sort of relic of the time, but it wouldn't have the legacy that it does.
No, definitely not.
Their legacy would be like, this was one of the great live bands, but never quite pulled it together on record or whatever. But what they make, I mean, the album as the final version of the record, I think is pretty stunningly tight, and it is just it clearly is the work of a band who has figured out how to do their thing so incredibly well, even if their thing is a little scrappy and a little sloppy sometimes, but they can really tighten up when they need to.
Yeah, definitely. Like given the short amount of time in which this was actually recorded, like the performances on it are even more impressive.
Yeah. Should we just get into the songs, I guess?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, there are 19 songs on this album. If we skip around a little bit or go through some of them fast, and we skip your favorite song, we apologize, but we're going to try to hit everything a little bit.
Many.
I think. Yeah. I mean, and it starts off with Knowledge, which is, the most important song in their catalog, I think. I don't think that's overstating it.
I don't think so. This is the song I think about when I think about Operation Ivy, followed almost immediately by Sound System and then some later songs on the record. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, they really put their best foot forward with this one. It's sort of a classic growing up anthem about the pressure to decide what you want to do with your life when you actually want to keep an open mind and explore things, and it's this very classic chorus of all I know is that I don't know nothing. It doesn't get more simple or more pure than that in punk, I don't think.
It really doesn't, and it kind of has this there's this kind of ever-present rallying cry in punk to not be the kind of person who stagnates as you get older in terms of keeping an open mind. And that is something that I see happen to a lot of people in their midlife years in an awful way that I would not recommend to anybody.
Right, because the worst version of it is you get pulled into the conspiracy theories and conservatism. See also Johnny Rotten,
right, exactly. Yeah, 100%.
Because to be a punk, you got to be against everything or whatever. We've talked about the 90s punk to MAGA pipeline and how frustrating it is.
It's really awful. There's so much it really speaks to the classic you can twist any message to match what you think in any way you want. Because a lot of aged punks who fall into conservatism, fall into alt-right shit. Are just I am punk rock. I'm against the establishment because the establishment is the libs or whatever. Come on.
Yeah, but I feel like that's a thing that Jesse Michaels as a songwriter and as a thinker has figured out really early on. So many songs on this record are about how the sort of assumed ethos of punk can get twisted into this hypermasculinity or this this clickiness or however you want to describe it. All these things that what you preach against accidentally turns into the thing that you're doing, or however you want to describe it. The things he's critiquing in the punk scene are, it feels like it predicts every problem that punk has in the next 20 years.
Right, exactly, yeah.
And maybe it's just because these things are cyclical and we never actually solve the problems, but I was kind of shocked at how prescient a lot of these lyrics felt.
Yeah, no, this song is, it gets played by Green Day at every show for a reason because it's evergreen, straight up. Yep. Also, that guitar solo in this song just absolutely iconic. One of the great punk guitar solos of all time.
Yeah, and the guitars, not necessarily on the song, but on quite a few songs on the record, that's where the mix falls apart for me. It's because there's only one guitar they recorded for a lot of these, and it's panned hard right, and the mix feels off balance. But then you just kind of forget it because the songs work, and so the mix being kind of subpar doesn't really matter that much.
Right, exactly, yeah.
And then getting into Sound System, which this album is going to bounce between these very some kind of thoughtful, politically minded songs to also songs that are just this is just a song about the power of music to lift you up, which is, and this is where the ska and reggae side of the band starts coming out. It's got all kinds of upstrokes, and that the bass line is the pure, all ska punk comes from this song, basically.
It kind of does, yeah. The only thing it's missing is more horns, which we get later on in the album, so...
Yeah, not as many horns as I was drawn to this stuff because I was it's sick that there's a saxophone in a punk song or a trombone or whatever. And there's a little bit of that here, but obviously other bands would take up that version of ska much further.
Right, yeah, exactly. This is also this is on this album, we've seen it, in the lead up to this album, but we get Jesse can just shove so many lyrics into a tiny space. It's actually insane. I don't know how anybody actually covers this song.
Yeah, he has almost, hip hop flow in a way that is, I kind of don't understand where all the words fit when I'm just reading them. But he makes it work. Is this where the pick it up thing like originates, or was that a ska thing before this?
I think it was a ska thing before this because it happens on a lot of songs, just kind of in the catalog, and not a lot, but like more than you'd think. But like this, I think this is maybe the most extreme version where all the words kind of start to run together in the middle of the song, right before the like big like bombastic like tom hit sound system part. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like whenever anyone is doing the pick it up thing, they're quoting this, even if this wasn't the origin of it.
Almost assuredly, yeah.
Yeah, this is where it comes to the masses.
Right, yeah. But like, you know, again, to kind of credit Jesse as a young songwriter, like this song has lyrics like to resist despair. That second makes you see, to resist despair because you can't change everything. To resist despair in this world is what it is to be free. Like, sounds way better when he says it. Obviously, I'm stumbling over my own words, but like, again, like maybe not like the most like poignant way of saying that, but like a really fucking like it hits. It still hits all these years later.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's the purity of the emotion and the earnestness of the delivery that it's what makes all these bands, you know, have made timeless classic albums. What makes them timeless? You know, the stuff doesn't really get old.
Yeah, exactly.
After that is Jaded, a song, yet another song that I kind of alluded to, is like, this is a song that's very critical of the punk scene, and the way that punk ethos gets twisted, and just feels like you could say the same things now and it would, you know, the only thing that's changed is that the shows cost more than $6.
Yeah, I was gonna say that is the biggest difference between now and then. It's the show. If it's a DIY show, like probably like 15 at this point.
Yeah,
but the only like big note I have on this song is that like verse guitar part I feel like birthed so many East Bay hardcore riffs, specifically via the band A Fire Inside later on in the scene's life. I hadn't like made that connection too like explicitly before now, but it's just so obvious giving it a closer listen.
Yeah, I definitely hear that. I mean, it's one of the things when you go back and listen to records from this time, especially the really influential ones, you always feel like the riffs aren't that, they're just kind of doing the same kind of punk riffs. It's like, no, they invented this stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Or they pulled it from The Clash, or they pulled it from, you know, Bad Brains or whatever, like everyone did. But what they're doing on here, yes, I agree. It does feel like it probably influenced every guitarist in the scene after it, maybe even more, because they're pulling more specifically from this record than from Operation Ivy's influences.
Right, exactly.
I love what once was rebellion is now clearly just a social sect. It's a great line.
That is really, really good. And the kind of closing of that segment of lyrics, the I won't burn my bridges, be just another jaded fool. Like there's a theme of keeping connected on this record, especially in songs like Unity later on, where like, you know, there's this kind of like almost radical acceptance of others, you know, even if they fuck up, you know, and I think that's really great.
Yeah. And then we get to Take Warning, another reggae influenced song. This is another one that just felt so resonant today, and is a kind of the same theme of what you were just talking about. This idea that the people who talk most loudly about like unity and stand by your friends and whatever are just making an excuse to fight people, and that's critiquing the machismo, and it's critiquing the way that people twist these ideas into their own, you know, just to protect their own clique instead of any kind of actual unity, you know, where they get to that we say stand together not to fight, just to exist.
Yeah, being aware of your motivations and like maybe taking heed of whether or not those motivations are, you know, for the greater good, or if they're just furthering your personal interest of getting to punch somebody or whatever the fuck.
Yeah. I just feel like, 4 songs on this record, I'm like, not knowing this band really that well at all before, I was like, oh, I'm like locked into this now. This first run of songs is really great.
Yeah, no, like the front half of this album is like honestly kind of immaculate in a lot of ways. One of my favorite things about this song is like the just like little slide that happens in that guitar part after the upstrokes. It's just so nice, and like that's something that they took from ska, like early ska reggae, but like it fits so well here. Like I feel like by this point we've kind of gotten most of the like flavors of the band's influences, and like the rest of the record is a lot of like iteration on that and like pulling from like different parts of those genres. But like this is like the most like ska, I think, of the songs that we've heard so far. Like, blanket term for like early, like the genre that reggae was birthed out of.
Right. Yeah. After that is The Crowd, where they are just immediately fast and loud again. This feels like another one that has a big influence on the hardcore bands that come after them. This is also the one where I was like, oh, the mix and only recording one guitar is almost distracting.
Yeah, that's fair. And like, for what it's worth, like it feels like a lot of this gets alleviated on the like 2007 remix remaster.
That's what I was listening to. I
Interesting.
Like, skipped around the original version a little bit, but the remaster is what's on streaming, and it's the easiest thing to listen to. And I noticed the mix stuff even on that.
Okay, I might just not be quite as sensitive to it as you are, which is fair. I don't mix records as often as you do.
Yeah, I don't know. It's still a great song. Like, it's another look at how the world basically like flattens and dehumanizes everyone, and trying to maintain that sense of self and that sense of creativity and individuality as you grow up.
Yeah, exactly. And the ways in which, forces from without will try to squash that from you. Like I'm a little wary about, anti-drinking songs, but like Drink in the Badlands, Liquid Bread for the Poor, like, yeah, like it is in many ways like just the existence of cheap drinking establishments can kind of keep, lower class folks down. And like maybe we need class solidarity is what we're all trying to say here.
Yeah, the anti-drinking angle of this is actually kind of interesting because they're not like a straight edge band by any means.
Not at all.
This is like and I think, there's other songs in this that are talking about addiction, less about alcohol and more about like harder drugs, but it is a thing that kind of runs through this record, and is, I think, one of the ideas that they're one of the many forces that they're talking about on this album is the kind of things that can dehumanize or can get you off this path of, like I said, being a free thinker or however they want to describe it.
Yeah, and like specifically in reference to like poor communities, like there are many situations, and this is still relevant today, where you can walk to a liquor store but you can't walk to a grocery store. Like, it's the accessibility of things like is kind of what ends up driving your own habits, and that gets reinforced, just through the literal like physical structure of society, and that's awful. So like, yeah, it might not be necessarily an anti-drinking thing so much as a like the ways in which you are presented with what you have access to kind of determine what you're able to do as a person, within your own means. And like, yeah, we need a gathering instead is what we're trying to say here.
Yeah. And then you realize on Bombshell that sometimes the songs don't have to be that serious. Like, this is
not at all.
Like, this is you see where Green Day gets their silliness. You see where like Blink-182 gets their silliness from a song like this. That is just like a song about meeting a hot girl and then forgetting her name and trying to remember it.
Yep.
I don't know that there's much more to the song than that outside of the incredible bass playing.
Again, incredible bass playing. My only other thing that I really want to point out is there's a line, the down in South Oakland off East 14th, it's raining. There is a tradition in Rancid songs where like there are so many directions laid out over the course of their discography. You will never unnotice it once you've noticed it. And I'm like, oh, this started here. Just talking about locations in Oakland.
Does anyone ever do like a Rancid Bloomsday? Do you know about Bloomsday?
No, I don't.
Oh, it's the thing in Dublin where people will, on the day that Ulysses by James Joyce takes place, people will just follow, because that book all takes place in one day.
Right.
People will just try to follow the path of where the character is walking throughout the book. And it would be funny to do that with a Rancid album.
I think you probably could. But yeah, no, I did know about that. I just did not know that was the name of it. But yeah, I'm sure somebody has tried to do this, especially in the form of a YouTube video.
It's out there. We can start making content. We can do it.
This is how we pivot to video.
Yeah, visiting all the locations in punk songs.
Yep.
But I mean, this song is like. It clearly, like, watching some of the live set videos, like, it goes off live. It's clearly like a very fun song and just not that serious.
Exactly, yeah.
Then you get Unity, which is, much more of a protest song. Pretty straightforwardly, just this is an anti-war song, considering that the chorus is just stop this war, stop this war.
Right, exactly. And like, not necessarily like the war in like the like terms of like foreign wars, like definitely like a war between people who should be getting along. In the case of many like ska bands, like this is where like the checkered like symbolism comes from, is the unity of black folks and white folks, or at least anti-racist white folks, because the other skinheads are awful people, But yeah, no, like it's pretty straightforward as songs go here.
Yeah, and the thing that I really like about the song is the bridge where it's like, ain't nothing wrong with another Unity song. This acknowledgement that they're not saying anything that hasn't been said before. They're not saying anything that is novel or unique, but it is important to have as many voices as possible raised in protest of the things that they're protesting.
Right, because it is still perpetuating itself, even if it feels like it's common knowledge among the people that you know and care about.
Yeah, and I think that is one of the things that's frustrating about like leftist spaces today, is that you see so much of like, oh, you're just saying something that's been said before. You're not saying anything new. At least I feel like I would see that sort of attitude, and like. No, it's important to just, or, leftist critique of sort of more centrist, center-left people. It's like, no, it is actually important to just have as many people as possible speaking up, even if they're not saying anything that is, like, perfect or novel or whatever.
Yeah, like, yes, you don't want them to stop there, but it's, in some cases it's not better than doing nothing, but in most cases it's better than doing nothing.
Right. Yeah. I think it's just it is always important and encouraging to see as many people as possible speaking up about things. And so like I like that is acknowledged in this song. That not that it would seem like trite if they didn't do that, but it adds another layer to it that I really liked.
Yeah. There you go. And fittingly, this is the song that finishes out their last show at Gilman Street. So
yeah,
checks out.
Yeah, it makes sense to go out on that one.
Yeah.
After that is Vulnerability, more of a storytelling song than some of these other ones, about seeing someone get run over by and killed by a drunk driver after a Ramones show, and just almost looking at it like sort of the M. Shepard angle of like, this is all just bystanders and we're all just numb to this horrible thing that's happened to us, and we're just kind of like, and you can just imagine, 15, 20 years later, this is a song about people filming it on their phones.
Yeah, exactly. Like the we get to the line, people look bored, like expecting more. Like that is a line that will like make you go, oh my God, what the fuck? And then you think about a situation like that and it's like, no, that's actually exactly what a scene like that would look like.
Yeah, I think this is a great showcase for Jesse as a vocalist. The way that he moves really quickly between singing and like the more like hardcore influenced shouting.
Yeah.
It shows all sides of his talent really well here.
Yeah, and it may be worth noting here that Jesse like mentions that this is musically very inspired by Stiff Little Fingers, so that all makes sense.
Yeah.
There's also those, not random, obviously, because they were very intentional, but there's those bars of 7 in the bridge, and I kind of love that. It's just kind of throws you off in the middle of a lot of songs that are just kind of in 4.
Yeah, you don't think of them as, you think of them as a band that's very good at doing the punk thing, but not as like an innovative band, if that makes sense, outside of maybe the bass playing.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, that's very cool. After that's Bank Shot, an instrumental, pretty catchy in terms of the guitar and bass, but not a lot else going on here, I don't think. No,
this is a song that I've like, it's incredibly catchy like that. I think that riff is like classic. But like, I'm like, this is a weird interlude, and it's weird that it's always been part of the record because it was on like that original Gilman Street recording too.
Yeah, it's a great riff. I understand why they want to use it.
Oh yeah, for sure. And like, this is like, I think the most surf inspired song that they have, and I think that's like something that they want to show off because they're a band that's, you know, obviously very influenced by surf rock in many ways, but like this is the most explicit version of that.
Yeah. Then you get One of These Days. This is like a weird middle part of the record where it seems like they threw some weird stuff in here. This is a sort of cover, I guess, of a partial cover of These Boots Are Made for Walkin'.
It is literally just the chorus, I believe.
Yeah. This is like a great song. It's got some great bass playing. I'm not sure how necessary it is to the album, especially as sort of the centerpiece here.
Yeah, I don't really know. But like it's a fun song. I enjoy it. But yeah, I kind of wonder what led to deciding to include this. And we may never know. I'm sure.
I mean, the answer might be to just like, somewhere. Oh, it was really fun to play.
Yeah, could be.
Who knows? Again, not something I would have probably put on the record.
Right. Yeah. This could have been B-sided and it might have been just fine.
Yeah. Then you got Gonna Find You, a song that's kind of similar to Knowledge in that it is about the idea of not wanting to fit into the structure of the path that your parents or the education system or whatever lays out for you. It's kind of a riffier, heavier punk song instead of the ska thing they've been doing a lot on this record. Yeah. The intro for this song lives rent free in my head at all times. Yeah, I guess that is probably, I kind of skipped over the iconic part of the song is that spoken word intro. And this is one of the many things we would have been robbed of if the Gilman Street version had worked out, because the intro in that version is not nearly as good. Yeah, I don't know. Like I think a lot about, and by a lot, I mean, I mostly think back to when I was in college. I took some sociology classes with a professor named Holly Swires, who did a lot of research on schooling, like as a system, rather than like, you know, the things you learn in school, like subject wise, like what the actual structure of schooling in America prepares you for. And it's capitalism is the answer, obviously. Yeah. And like that, you know, that is a theme throughout this album, but it's like obviously like maybe most explicitly laid out here, and that the song just makes me think of that a lot. $ value system upheld as the truth right there. There you go. Then you get Bad Town. This is like the chillest song on the record, feels very Clash influenced to me. This is the first one that Tim Armstrong is taking like the lead vocals and is the primary writer on, right? Yes, that is pretty. I think Tim wrote like a decent amount of the lyrics on Vulnerability, but this is the one that like he is most featured on as a vocalist, and wrote. I think he wrote all the lyrics on this one for the most part. Yeah, he's the only credited writer where I'm looking on Genius. Okay, yeah, that checks out. Whether or not you trust that, who knows? But yeah, right. It's thematically it fits. It's not like he's doing something totally different than what Jesse's doing on this record. It thematically fits. It's critical of the violence and the cliques and the way that I'm sure like skinheads were infiltrating the scene at the time and that sort of thing. But I think the song is mostly notable for the saxophones because they are awesome.
Oh my God, yeah. No, this is legitimately one of my favorite songs on this record, mostly because of the saxophones.
The solo is
so good.
Awesome.
Oh my God, yeah. Like this is like this is a core part of this record for me. Like this is like I know I said that like most everything kind of gets introduced within the first 4 or 5 songs. This is the missing piece, I think, in a lot of ways. If you're taking a sampling of this record, it has to include this song to get like the whole spectrum.
Would you want more stuff like this on the album? Because it is very much an outlier.
Kind of, yeah. And part of that is like you said, this is like very obviously influenced by The Clash, and I love The Clash. So like more of that, please. Yes, obviously.
We got to do a Clash series.
Oh yeah, someday we will tackle that. Not very many albums, but behemoth of a discography nonetheless.
Right. Yeah. Anything else on Bad Town?
Nah, just I do really love that like this song is literally just 2 verses and then that refrain over and over again, and then also the sax solo. Like it's really simply laid out, but it gets stuck in your craw. Like I've never not loved this song.
I agree. I mean, I have loved it for, a week or whatever, but
I'm glad to know that it works hearing it the first time in your adult life. So I'm cool with knowing that.
Yeah. Then we get Smiling. This next run of songs I think are all good, but kind of start running together for me. This is just sort of what happens when you have a 19 song album.
Yeah, that's usually how it goes, and we're on track 13 at this point, and we've just come off of one of the most singular songs on the record.
Right, and I think so. I mean, Caution is. Oh, wait, sorry, I skipped. Smiling is the next one. Is again picking out a kind of a particular ill in the scene or in the world. This kind of like people who are two-faced and are. Act like they're very nice, caring people around one set of friends, but are actually awful to other people, to women in particular. It makes sense as a thing for them to call out and to write a song about.
Yeah, and like I mean, I personally really love the intro to this song as well. The like really like staccato like floor tom bass drum thing with the words in between that I'm not going to try to demonstrate here, but I have been tapping that rhythm on my lap pretty much the entire time we've been talking about this song.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a point in this song where there are like party sounds like kind of brought in, and for some reason there's a tambourine in there too. I'm not really sure I understand that choice, but whatever.
There's always a tambourine.
There's every party I've ever been to.
I'm going to the wrong parties.
Yeah, I was going to say that I don't think that's actually true, and now I'm kind of disappointed.
No, I think this, like I said, I think this is a good song. I will cop to this album already starting to feel its length at this point.
I having not like gotten super deep into like the background of like why certain decisions were made on this album. Do you feel like it was mostly just they wanted to fit as much on a physical record as they possibly could?
I imagine, again, I don't know. I probably should have tried to seek out more interviews and stuff, but it feels like just reading the background that I did about the band, it feels like a moment of like, we have a lot of songs that we think are really good and we're just going to play them all and we're going to capture them all and we're going to put them all out there.
Yeah.
Because we know the band is basically done and after we release this. So why not put all this stuff that is a representation of this last year or whatever of writing and touring and playing together. Let's just put it all on here.
I think that's completely fair.
And it feels like the sequence, outside of, again, being a little perplexed by One of These Days, it feels like the sequencing is like that too, because I think they really do stack kind of the marquee songs at the top, and then this other stuff, which is like all interesting sides of the band, is back here on the back half, and sort of a classic put your singles first kind of album sequencing.
Sure, totally.
Then you get Caution. This is the one I was alluding to. It is. I don't want to say a critique of drug use. That's the wrong way to put it. But it is about addiction and about how drugs can basically, will basically control you.
Yeah, no, I guess the way that this song was kind of incepted was that Tim wrote the first line to it, and then Jesse like kind of related that back to meth specifically, and then that just things just kind of went from there, and shockingly, we end up in another song where Jesse is cramming many, many words into a tiny, tiny space.
Yeah. I just don't have like a ton of stuff to say about some of these songs. They're kind of not bad, but just they don't stand out to me the way the biggest stuff on the record does.
That's totally fair. Like we kind of feel like we're oscillating between like kind of the big sounds of this record at this point. I think that again have kind of already been established.
Yeah. And then Freeze Up is actually more notable to me, and just in the sense that it is the most obviously political song on the album so far, I think. That it is really trying to take stock of the state of politics and the state of the world in 1989, while then sort of undercutting it with this idea that like nothing can be changed except for ourselves.
Right, exactly.
Like the best line of the song.
Yeah, 100%. And again, a song that is still very, very relevant today, with the glaring exception of the fact that it's not 1989.
Yeah,
the only thing that's changed. Yeah, I feel like I've said I like the solos on a lot of these songs, but like this has maybe the most rock and roll ass guitar solo of the entire record, and I think that's pretty neat because like. This is I think we kind of like glossed over. One of their like officially released covers, or quote unquote officially released covers, is a Blasters song. So like you can definitely hear that influence here. And I think that's kind of neat.
Yeah, they just seem unafraid to mess with genre a little bit, and which makes sense as they're incorporating the ska stuff and the horns, and I mean the best bands are, the kind that refuse to be pigeonholed while still retaining their sonic identity. And I feel like that is definitely the case with Operation Ivy.
Definitely, yeah.
Then you get Artificial Life. I think this is actually quite a good song. This one was stuck in my head a lot of today. And another song that feels like it's about a thing that is still the case, about the commercialization and commodification of art and how we help it along by just consuming things for the sake of escapism and not truly engaging with art or trying to make something that feels important or true to ourselves.
Yeah. I mean, this is very, very obviously like specifically kind of throwing shade at like popular music of the time. Just the kind of like vacuous, like lowest common denominator type stuff that like doesn't necessarily endure over the course of the years, but was massive at the time.
Yeah. What do you make with the Prince is having brunch with Pat Boone line?
That's a great question. And I don't know.
I guess it's referring to this must have been contemporaneous basically at the time.
Yeah.
Or I mean, I guess the Darling Nikki is a little bit earlier, but of this idea that even, I guess what they're saying in the song is that even the people that seem like they're in conflict in the media are all in cahoots, basically. Like they're all profiting whichever side they seem to be on.
I mean, that does make sense given the general theme of the song and just like the I keep wanting to say the phrase "the flattening of culture," which isn't really relevant here, but it is definitely relevant to the theme of the song in general.
But it's sort of predicting or observing the version at the time of something that has only become so much worse. Is the way that consolidation of media corporations leads to that flattening.
Oh yeah,
because there were 3 channels, and then with cable or whatever, there were 300 channels, and then now we're back to there kind of only being 3 channels. It's just because it's you've got Disney and you've got Netflix and you've got what I mean, like, and you've got Fox, or I mean Disney owns part of Fox, but you know what I mean? Like there's really not, there are fewer and fewer options because, Paramount and Warner are merging and Discovery and Warner merge and all that stuff. So like even though there are different logos on things, ultimately a lot of this stuff in a lot of media is owned by just a few people.
Yeah, and that is the way in which hegemony spreads. I'm pretty sure Jesse was like doing a lot of philosophy reading around the time that he was writing these songs.
Right. Yeah. And like I said, I think this is just a keen observation, and it's one of those things that has remained true this entire time.
Oh yeah,
it's
definitely
just gotten more true.
Yeah, no question. And even though it seems like it's not on the surface, which is
right,
more sinister in a way.
Yeah. And that we play into it by like, all we want to see Marvel and DC superheroes fight or whatever, but like
right.
Ultimately, this is all just feeding the coffers of already very rich people.
Yeah. We used to have to go to Street Fighter for that. Nope. Marvel vs. Capcom. I don't remember which fighting game has all those characters in it. It doesn't matter. It's all Fortnite now, which is the worst version of all of this.
That's I could go deeper on that, but we're gonna move on to Room Without a Window.
You all know what's up.
Yeah. Which is just, I mean, this is another one of Jesse's like vocal talents. Like he's just like spitting fire in this one.
Oh my God. Yeah. The can't see outs on this are just so like it's wild how much he can enunciate that given how loud and fast he is going.
Yeah. Watching the live videos, like he basically pulls it off live too. I mean, I don't think there's much like studio magic on this. He's just very good at this thing that he's doing.
Yeah, no, he's just an absolutely talented dude.
Yeah. And this is yet another song about sort of the closed-mindedness of modern society and the people who will tell you the quote unquote like right way to be, while they aren't actually seeing the world as it is.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know that that's much deeper than that, but it's a good song.
Yeah, no, it's a song that's kind of easy to read, but like still hits regardless.
Yeah. Then you got Big City. I find the song very, very catchy.
It is very catchy.
It's a wishing well, it's a living hell. It's a great line. But just a song about wealth inequality and this idea of this contrast between skyscrapers representing obviously like the wealthy business people and then the people who live at street level.
Yeah, exactly. And like, it's one of those things where it's one of those songs where and this has happened several times on this album thus far, but like you get an idea like presented in like many images in the verse, and then the chorus just sums up the idea that we're trying to present here. And I think it's really, really well done on this song. In very, very, very few words.
Yeah, it's another one that's just like, I don't know, I could just repeat what the song is about in the line and what they're saying, what he's saying in it, but it's like it's another one that's just very resonant today still. It's like he called out all the perfect subjects on this record.
Right, exactly. Yeah, which again, horrifying, but he did it.
Yeah. And I mean, even more so again on the closing track on Missionary, a song that is I think about both is both a critique of Christian evangelism and also U.S. military intervention. And this idea that, I kill and words will defend it. No matter how atrocious of a thing you're doing, people will find a way to say that God is justifying it.
Yeah. And in the the war sense of it, Manifest Destiny never left American blood at all. Like,
right,
we're still putting our hands in everything because we feel it's our job to do so as the free country or whatever. I'm sure this was a little more novel to say at the time, but like Jesus Christ.
I mean, the thing that this song does so well is I feel like that "On My Way to Save the World" repeated in the chorus is so poppy and so like major key and catchy that it kind of captures the delusion of the type of person that it's about like, almost too perfectly. Because like that's the part that gets stuck in your head, and you almost like start to believe it and start to feel it, just enough to then have it be undercut by, a lyric like my actions are the means to the end, sort of in the bridge. Like it's very effective songwriting and a really effective use of the melodic side of this band.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like that really does perfectly encapsulate like what this song is about. Like just like saying the worst possible shit and then just going into this incredibly catchy chorus that, like you said, kind of makes you forget what just happened and maybe in advance forget what's about to come. Like you can convince yourself that you are doing right by God, right by your country, whatever the hell you're convincing yourself, even though you are materially experiencing awful things.
Yeah, and I guess I was a little critical of the back middle of this record. This is the closer, no matter how you put this album together. I can't imagine another song ending this album.
No, I think it is perfectly placed. I like you said, I couldn't imagine it any other way.
Yeah, so that's Energy.
Yeah,
an album that has, its legacy is, it's sold over 500,000 copies, probably significantly more, considering that there was an issue with the royalty distribution on it that led to Hellcat, which is Tim Armstrong's label, and Epitaph getting it back and reissuing it in 2007. We talked a little bit about the legacy already, but it's worth saying again that, this is, I think, just a complete landmark, just totally massively significant album in the punk scene, and I get it now.
Well, that's the thing is like its influence is so widespread that it's almost hard to talk about it because like I can name some specific bands that like clearly like came out of this, but I've already done that, and like it wouldn't be helpful to name more. It's every punk band, like period. There's no question about it. But I do find it very. I did not know that the final show insofar that the Gilman show was the final show. That was Green Day's first show as Green Day, like post Sweet Children. Never knew.
Yeah,
that.
real passing of the torch moment there.
Yeah, like that's almost too perfect, honestly.
Yeah. And we mentioned before that Tim Armstrong and Matt Freeman go on to form Rancid. Jesse Michaels has a couple other bands, Big Rig and Common Rider, and then later forms Classics of Love with the members of Hard Girls. And they shoot down the reunion idea many times over the years. Tim and Jesse now have a new band called Doom Regulator and have played some Op Ivy songs together. It's one of those things, like it seems like they're setting it up to be open to it at some point. Right. I would say, at least. Like, also, you got to imagine the paycheck would be worth it.
It feels more like a possibility now than it ever has. Like in many, like nobody hates each other as far as I know. They have members of the band have played these songs together in certain scenarios. Like it doesn't feel impossible the way that it did 10 years ago.
Yeah, because that was when they were really like, this is never happening.
Yeah, exactly. Also, if you got anything, I was just going to say, if you haven't checked out Classics of Love, they were really, really good, and I kind of wish they were still around.
Okay, I need to.
Yeah, worth doing.
Yeah. I don't know. We've gone through a bunch of there's some other bootlegs and B-sides and stuff that you can seek out. There's in 92 and 93, there were a couple of sanctioned bootlegs with songs from the Hectic sessions and other demos and stuff like that.
Yeah.
There's stuff out there if you want to dig into it with this band. None of it really touches Energy, I don't think.
Yeah, no, like again, they're touching on a lot of the same themes, and I think they just don't quite reach the same like zenith that a lot of the songs on Energy do, but they're still good. They're just not as good as some of the best punk songs ever written. Like that's just kind of how it is.
Yeah. So if they do reunite, you going in the pit?
Oh, I'll die in the pit, probably.
Hell yeah.
No, I won't. There will be too many old people there. Everybody will be coming out of mosh retirement, and nobody will remember how to mosh.
Yeah. We'll see. Like I said, we're either going to look really smart or a normal amount of stupid.
Yeah.
Depending on whether or not they are playing this year.
I feel like we've manifested enough stuff like this that it's not impossible.
That's true. We may be affecting things by just doing this episode.
I like to think that we are always affecting things by doing these episodes.
All right. You got a random recommendation for this week?
I do, and it's about as fresh as it gets as far as the day that we're recording this. By next week, it'll be old news. But my recommendation is getting hip to the fact that Screamo is back because Snag has a new song out. Snag is a Milwaukee-based Screamo band. They describe themselves as a climate anxiety band. So you can imagine what their songs are about. Most of them are about being deeply afraid of the state of the world ecologically, and all the things that are connected to that, which is mostly everything. But they dropped a new song today entitled Debilitated. I've listened to it like 5 times already. But alongside it, they announced a new album on Death Wish, which is really, really cool. I've been following this band for a few years now, and it's I've seen them like slowly gain traction, and it's really cool to see them kind of get the big Death Wish treatment, because I feel like that is like kind of maybe the ultimate spot to end up if you're in this genre. But the record is going to be called All the Cages Holding Us Will One Day Turn to Dust.
Good title.
Real good title. It does come out after our mid-year episode, so it will not be on my mid-year list, sadly. But I have a odd feeling it's going to be on my end-of-year list, because I do really love this band. If you like screamy music, you're gonna like this. So yeah, Debilitated by Snag, and probably the album when it comes out, but that's like 2 months away at this point, so we'll see.
Cool. I don't know this band, so I'm excited to check that out.
I think you're gonna dig. But yeah, what you got?
I'm going to recommend the new album, Show the World What's Underneath by Super Sometimes. This is a pop punk band from San Diego that just recently signed to Pure Noise. This album is the missing link between Blink-182 and Hot Mulligan. It's so catchy and so well written, and there's also like shades of Yellow Card and Autopilot Off, and every other band that is, you would imagine on your iPod from 2009 or whatever, is they're all in the DNA of this band in some way or another. These guys are so young and they're already so tight. And I've listened to this record like 10 times since it came out on Friday. It's a gem.
Hell yeah. The few songs that I heard at your house yesterday were really great, and I'm looking forward to listening to the whole thing.
Yeah, there's like, gotta check out Learned My Lesson, especially. That's the one that is the most like, is this just a Blink-182 song that they dug up somewhere? It's so good.
Hell yeah, that's awesome.
All right, I guess we should say what we're our next series.
Yeah,
is next week we are starting a series on Death Cab for Cutie.
It's gonna be great. I'm so excited.
One of the marquee bands of emo and indie rock of the last 30 years or so. I'm very excited about this one too, especially to get into late era Death Cab, which I have quite a fondness for. Oh yeah,
I know that people obviously look back fondly on some of the earlier stuff, but like that, they're a band that has aged incredibly well. Yeah. And I'm very excited for this new record, which will be coming out not that long after this episode goes out. A couple of weeks,
we didn't time it super well. And
right.
I guess both our Mitski series and the Death Cab one is the new album will come out near the beginning of our series, and we will cover it months later.
Y'all will have plenty of time to listen to it before you hear us talk about it then. And we will too, and that's kind of nice.
Yeah. It'll get to settle in instead of trying to talk about it on the day it comes out or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. I think we planned this out perfectly.
Cool. But yeah, so we'll be back next week talking about you can play these songs with chords. And until then, you can find us on the internet at noisefloorpodcast.com. and on Instagram at noisefloorpod, and send us email at noisefloorpodcast@gmail.com. And we will see you next week.
See you next week.